Lisa Martinez sat in the back row of the lecture hall, watching the other students take notes with their advanced devices. The Zephyrians used their 4 arms to operate multiple screens at once. The Chromac recorded everything with their perfect memory implants. The Veilani shared thoughts directly between their minds, learning faster than any individual could manage alone. Lisa had only her old paper notebook and a simple pen. Her grandfather had given her the notebook before she left Earth. He told her that sometimes the old ways worked better than the new ones. Most people at the Academy thought she was strange for using such basic tools. The Galactic Naval Academy on Centauri Prime was the most important military school in known space. Students came from dozens of different worlds and species. Getting accepted was nearly impossible. Graduating was even harder. Lisa was one of only 12 humans in a class of 300 students. Professor Krish stood at the front of the classroom, his tall Zephyrian frame moving with quick, precise motions. His silver skin gleamed under the bright lights as he spoke about navigation through dangerous space regions. His voice had the musical quality that all Zephyrians possessed. "The Stellar Navigation Challenge will begin in 2 weeks," he announced. "This competition has been held for 200 years. It tests your ability to plot safe courses through the Maelstrom Nebula using only basic instruments. No computers. No enhanced sensors, only your mind and basic tools." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. She had been preparing for this challenge since arriving at the Academy 6 months ago. While other students focused on memorizing star charts and mathematical formulas, Lisa had been studying something different. She spent hours in the Academy's old archives, reading about ancient Earth navigation methods. Her grandfather had been a sailor on Earth's oceans for 40 years before humans reached the stars. He taught Lisa how to read wind patterns, ocean currents, and weather signs. He showed her how to navigate by the stars when all the modern equipment failed. Lisa wondered if those same skills might work in space. "The winner will receive the highest honors the Academy can give," Professor Kresh continued. "They will also be guaranteed placement on any ship they choose after graduation. In 2 centuries, no human has ever won this challenge." After class, Lisa walked through the Academy grounds with her friend Danny Cooper. Danny was from Mars Colony and had joined the Academy hoping to become a starship engineer. He was smart and friendly, but like most humans, he felt out of place among the other species. "You're really going to enter the challenge?" Danny asked. "Lisa, no human has ever even come close to winning. The Zephyrians have reflexes twice as fast as ours. The Chromac can process information like living computers. The Veilani can coordinate their thoughts with each other. Maybe that's exactly why a human might win," Lisa said. "Everyone expects us to lose, so they won't be watching for what we might do differently." Danny shook his head. "What could we possibly do that they can't do better?" Lisa didn't answer, but she had been thinking about this question for months. Her grandfather once told her that the best sailors weren't always the ones with the best equipment. They were the ones who could feel the ocean in ways that instruments couldn't measure. 2 weeks later, Lisa sat in the competition chamber with 49 other students. The room was completely white and empty except for basic navigation instruments. Mounted on simple desks, each student had access to the same tools: star charts, measurement devices, and calculation aids. Nothing electronic was allowed. The challenge was displayed on a large screen at the front of the room. Competitors had to plot a course through the Maelstrom Nebula from point A to point B. The nebula was filled with gravitational anomalies, plasma storms, and areas controlled by hostile forces. The route had to be safe, fast, and use minimal fuel. Most students immediately began making calculations and checking their star charts. The Zephyrians moved with incredible speed, their arms working on multiple calculations at once. The Chromac sat perfectly still, their enhanced minds processing vast amounts of data. The Veilani worked in small groups, sharing their thoughts silently. Lisa did something completely different. She closed her eyes and tried to feel the problem like her grandfather had taught her to feel the ocean. She imagined the nebula as a vast sea with currents and storms and safe passages hidden between the dangers. When she opened her eyes, she didn't look at the star charts first. Instead, She studied the pattern of gravitational fields shown on the display. She looked for rhythms and flows that reminded her of ocean currents. She searched for the quiet spaces between storms where a ship might travel safely. Slowly, a path began to form in her mind. It wasn't the most direct route, and it wasn't the path that the mathematical calculations suggested. But it felt right in a way that Lisa couldn't explain. It was like finding a secret channel through dangerous waters that only an experienced sailor would notice. She began marking her route on the chart, making adjustments as she went. Sometimes she would stop and close her eyes again, imagining how the gravitational forces would feel to a ship moving through them. Other times, she would trace patterns with her finger, following invisible currents that seemed to flow through the nebula, while the other students relied on precise calculations. Lisa used something that couldn't be taught in any classroom. Used intuition developed over millions of years of human evolution. She used the same instincts that had helped her ancestors navigate vast oceans with nothing but the stars to guide them. The competition lasted 6 hours. When time was called, Lisa felt confident about her route. But she knew the other students had advantages she couldn't match. She expected to finish somewhere in the middle of the group. 3 days later, results were announced in the Academy's main auditorium. Professor Kresh stood at the podium with a strange expression on his face. The room was filled with students, faculty, and visiting officials from across the galaxy. "The Stellar Navigation Challenge has been completed," he said slowly. The winner not only found the optimal route through the Maelstrom Nebula, but also achieved the fastest time in the competition's history. The winning time was 37% better than the previous record. The room buzzed with excitement. Everyone wanted to know which species had produced such an outstanding navigator. Professor Kresh looked directly at Lisa. "The winner is Cadet Lisa Martinez of Earth." The auditorium fell completely silent. Lisa felt as if time had stopped. Around her, hundreds of alien faces stared in disbelief. Some students began whispering to each other. Faculty members looked confused and concerned. Lisa stood up slowly, her legs shaking. She had won. Against all odds, against all expectations, she had beaten the best navigators from dozens of worlds. But as she looked around the room, she realized that her victory had created a problem no one expected. No one believed it was possible. The silence in the auditorium lasted only a few seconds before voices erupted from every direction. Lisa heard words like impossible and mistake echoing through the large room. Students turned in their seats to stare at her. Faculty members whispered urgently to each other. Some aliens pointed at her with expressions of confusion and anger. Lisa remained standing, unsure of what to do. She had expected celebration, congratulations, perhaps some surprise. She had not expected this reaction. Crowd's disbelief felt like a physical weight pressing down on her shoulders. Professor Kresh raised his hand for silence. "The results have been verified multiple times," he announced. "There is no error in the scoring," but his words did little to calm the crowd. A tall Chromac student named Vex stood up near the front of the auditorium. His metallic blue skin gleamed as he spoke in his deep, mechanical voice. "Professor, with respect, this result cannot be accurate. Humans lack the cognitive processing power necessary for such complex navigation. Their brains are simply not evolved for this type of calculation." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Lisa felt her face grow hot with embarrassment and anger. She wanted to respond, but she could not find her voice. Another student, a Valeni named Syrah, joined the protest. Her pale, elongated features showed clear skepticism. "My analysis team and I shared our thoughts throughout the entire competition. We calculated 17 different possible routes. None of them came close to achieving this supposed winning time, perhaps," said a Zephyrian student named Dex. "The human had access to technology, the rest of us did not. Their species is known for creating hidden devices." Captain Jake Morrison, the Academy's only human instructor, stood up in the faculty section. His weathered face showed controlled anger. "I object to these accusations. Cadet Martinez followed all competition rules exactly. She used only the approved instruments. But Professor Kresh held up his hand again. Captain Morrison, given the unusual nature of these results, I believe a formal investigation is warranted. The Academy's honor requires that we examine all possibilities. Lisa finally found her voice. Professor, I did nothing wrong. I followed every rule, used only the basic instruments everyone else had access to. Of course you would say that, Vex replied, but the evidence suggests otherwise. No human has ever demonstrated such navigation ability. The logical conclusion is that you had unfair assistance. Within an hour, news of Lisa's victory and the subsequent controversy had spread throughout the Academy's communication networks. By evening, reports had reached news stations across the galaxy. The story that emerged painted Lisa not as a remarkable navigator, but as a suspected cheater. Lisa sat in her small dormitory room, reading the messages that flooded her personal communicator. Most were from other humans offering support, but many others questioned her achievement. Some aliens posted detailed analyses, claiming her victory was statistically impossible. Danny knocked on her door and entered without waiting for an answer. His face showed concern and frustration. Lisa, this is getting out of control. They're calling for a formal hearing. Some students are saying all humans should be expelled from the Academy. I didn't cheat, Danny. You know I didn't cheat. Know that. But it doesn't matter what I know. The whole galaxy thinks humans are either liars or have secret technology we're hiding from everyone else. Amy Johnson and Pete Williams arrived a few minutes later. Amy was from Earth's Luna colony, and Pete came from one of the outer settlements. They were the only other human cadets in Lisa's year. We've been hearing rumors all day, Amy said. Some faculty members think Captain Morrison helped you cheat. They're saying he gave you classified Earth navigation systems. Pete shook his head angrily. This is ridiculous. Lisa won because she's smart and worked hard. Why is that so impossible to believe? Because we're humans, Danny replied quietly. Everyone knows we're the weakest species in the Academy. We have the slowest reflexes, the worst memory, the poorest mathematical abilities. In their minds, there's no way one of us could beat their best students. The next morning, Lisa was summoned to appear before the Academy's Board of Inquiry. The board consisted of 5 members representing the major species in the Galactic Alliance. There were no humans on the board. The hearing room was formal and intimidating. Lisa sat at a small table facing the 5 board members. Professor Kresh sat to one side as the primary witness. Captain Morrison sat behind Lisa, but he was not allowed to speak unless directly questioned. Admiral Zen, an elderly Veilani with pale blue skin, served as the board's chairperson. Her large, dark eyes seemed to look right through Lisa as she spoke. Cadet Martinez, you are accused of using unauthorized assistance during the Stellar Navigation Challenge. How do you respond to this charge? I am innocent, Admiral. I used only the approved instruments and my own knowledge to complete the challenge. Your own knowledge, repeated Commander Thok, a massive chromac, whose voice sounded like grinding metal. Explain to this board what knowledge a human could possibly be possessed that would allow such performance. Lisa took a deep breath. My grandfather taught me traditional navigation methods from Earth. I applied those techniques to the spatial navigation problem. Traditional Earth navigation, Admiral Zen said slowly. You mean primitive techniques used by your ancestors? Before they developed proper technology. Yes, Admiral. Methods for reading patterns in natural forces and finding safe passages through dangerous areas. The board members exchanged looks that clearly showed their skepticism. Professor Kresh leaned forward. Admiral, if I may, human navigation techniques are well documented. They're based on simple pattern recognition and basic mathematics. They could not possibly produce the sophisticated results we observed. For the next 3 hours, the board questioned Lisa about every aspect of her preparation and performance. They asked about her study methods, her practice sessions, her access to Academy resources. They questioned her about conversations with other students, her use of the library. Even her personal communications with Earth. Lisa answered every question, honestly, but she could see that the board members became more convinced of her guilt with each response. They simply could not accept that human intuition and pattern recognition could produce results superior to alien computational abilities. During a break in the hearing, Captain Morrison was finally allowed to speak privately with Lisa. "They've already made up their minds," he said quietly. "They're not looking for the truth. They're looking for evidence to support what they already believe. What happens if they find me guilty? Expulsion from the academy. Possible criminal. Charges for fraud. It won't just affect you, Lisa. This could impact every human's chance of joining galactic institutions." When the hearing resumed, Admiral Zen announced the board's decision to conduct a full investigation. Lisa's personal belongings would be searched, her communications would be monitored, her training records would be analyzed by experts from multiple species. Furthermore, Admiral Zen continued, "Cadet Martinez is suspended from all classes pending the outcome of this investigation. Captain Morrison is also suspended from teaching duties as a potential accomplice." Lisa felt the world spinning around her. In less than 24 hours, she had gone from achieving the greatest honor in Academy history to being treated like a criminal. Her victory had been stolen and replaced with shame and suspicion. As she walked back to her dormitory under the watchful eyes of Academy security, Lisa realized that winning the competition had been the easy part. Proving that a human could win it honestly might be impossible. For 2 weeks, Lisa remained confined to her dormitory while the investigation continued. Academy security officers searched her room 3 times, examining every possession she owned. They found nothing suspicious. Her simple notebook contained only basic navigation notes and sketches. Her few personal items from Earth held no secret technology. Meanwhile, experts from 5 different species analyzed her competition performance. They ran computer simulations trying to recreate her route through the Maelstrom Nebula. Every analysis reached the same conclusion. The route was impossible to calculate using standard methods and basic instruments. Lisa spent her days reading messages of support from humans across the galaxy, but also cruel comments from aliens who had already decided she was guilty. The stress was wearing her down. She barely slept and ate very little. Danny, Amy, and Pete visited when they could, but even they seemed uncertain about what to believe. On the 15th day of her suspension, everything changed. A transport ship arrived at Centauri Prime carrying a passenger who would alter the course of the investigation completely. Dr. Alina Rodriguez stepped off the transport with confidence and determination. She was Earth's leading expert on human brain development and cognitive abilities. She had spent 30 years studying how humans thought differently from other species. When news of Lisa's situation reached Earth, Dr. Rodriguez immediately requested permission to travel to the Academy. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but when she spoke, everyone listened. Her reputation for brilliant research was known throughout the galaxy. Even the aliens who doubted human intelligence respected Dr. Rodriguez's scientific work. Admiral Zen agreed to let Dr. Rodriguez present evidence to the Board of Inquiry. The hearing room was packed with students, faculty, and reporters from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to hear what the famous human scientist would say. Dr. Rodriguez began her presentation with a simple question. "How many of you have studied human evolutionary history?" Only a few hands were raised. Most species had little interest in human development, considering it primitive compared to their own advancement. Humans evolved on a world that was 70% water, Dr. Rodriguez explained. For millions of years, our ancestors survived by reading patterns in oceans, weather, and star positions. We developed unique neural pathways for spatial reasoning that other species do not possess. She activated a holographic display showing human brain scans. This is the human brain during navigation tasks. Notice the activation patterns in areas that control intuitive thinking and pattern recognition. These same areas remain largely inactive in most other species during similar tasks. Commander Thok interrupted. "Dr. Rodriguez, are you suggesting that humans have superior navigation abilities that contradicts all established research?" "Not superior, Commander. Different. Human brains process spatial information in ways that your species considers inefficient. We use what you might call guesswork or intuition. But this intuition is actually the result of millions of years of evolutionary development. Dr. Rodriguez continued her presentation, showing how humans had navigated Earth's oceans for thousands of years before developing advanced technology. She explained how sailors could predict weather patterns, ocean currents, and safe passages through dangerous waters using only observation and instinct. These abilities did not disappear when humans reached space, she said. They simply had no opportunity to be tested against more technologically advanced methods. Until now. Admiral Zen leaned forward. Dr. Rodriguez, your theories are interesting, but they do not prove that Cadet Martinez did not cheat. They only suggest that cheating might not have been necessary. Then let me propose a test, Dr. Rodriguez replied. Place Cadet Martinez in a sealed chamber under constant observation by representatives from each of your species. Give her the same navigation challenge again. If she can repeat her performance, you will have your proof. The board members looked at each other uncertainly. Professor Kresh stood up from his position at the side of the room. This test would prove nothing. The cadet has already seen the challenge. She knows the correct answer. Then give her a different challenge, Dr. Rodriguez said calmly. Create a new navigation problem of equal difficulty. Let her solve it while your representatives watch every move she makes. Admiral Zen called for a recess while the board discussed this proposal. After an hour, they returned with their decision. We'll allow this test, Admiral Zen announced, but it will be conducted under the strictest possible conditions. Cadet Martinez will be searched thoroughly. The chamber will be completely isolated. 5 observers, 1 from each major species, will monitor everything she does. 3 days later, Lisa found herself in a small, windowless chamber deep inside the academy. The room contained only a basic desk and the same simple instruments used in the original challenge. 5 observers sat behind a transparent barrier, watching her every movement. The new challenge appeared on a screen in front of her. It was a navigation problem through the demon's throat, a dangerous region of space filled with black holes, radiation storms, and unstable wormholes. Lisa had never seen this particular problem before. She looked at the display for several minutes, feeling the familiar pressure of being watched and judged. Then she closed her eyes and tried to clear her mind. She thought about her grandfather's teachings about reading the ocean. She imagined the dangerous space region as a vast sea with hidden currents and safe channels. When she opened her eyes, Lisa began working with the same intuitive approach she had used in the original competition. She traced patterns on the star chart with her finger, looking for the natural flows between gravitational forces. She searched for the quiet spaces where a ship could travel safely. The observers watched in fascination as Lisa worked. She used methods none of them had ever seen before. Instead of making precise calculations, she seemed to feel her way through the problem. She would pause, close her eyes, then make adjustments to her route based on instincts the observers could not understand. After 4 hours, Lisa completed her navigation solution. The observers immediately began checking her work using advanced computers and mathematical analysis. The results were stunning. Not only had Lisa found a safe route through the demon's throat, she had also discovered 3 additional paths that the Academy's computers had missed completely. Her main route was faster and more fuel-efficient than any solution the computers could generate. Dr. Rodriguez was called back to explain what the observers had witnessed. What you saw was human pattern recognition at its finest, she said. Lisa did not calculate her route, she intuited it. Her brain processed spatial relationships in ways that your computational methods cannot replicate. The Valeni observer, a scientist named Carrie, spoke up. But how is this possible? Our analysis shows that humans have inferior mathematical abilities. Mathematics and spatial intuition are different skills, Dr. Rodriguez replied. You have advanced mathematical computation, but humans have evolved something else. We can sense patterns and relationships that exist below the level of conscious calculation. Commander Thok remained skeptical. This seems like impossible magic. No, Commander. This is evolution. For millions of years, humans who could not read natural patterns died. Only those with strong intuitive abilities survive to pass on their genes. What you see as magic we call survival. Admiral Zen studied the test results carefully. The evidence was overwhelming. Lisa had demonstrated abilities that could not be explained by cheating or hidden technology. She had done something that the galaxy's most advanced computers could not match. Dr. Rodriguez, Admiral Zen said slowly, "Are you telling us that we have been underestimating human capabilities?" "Yes, Admiral. More importantly, you have been misunderstanding them. Human intelligence is not inferior to yours. It is simply different. And in some situations, those differences give us unique advantages." The hearing room fell silent as the implications of Dr. Rodriguez's words sank in. Yes, everything the galaxy believed about human intelligence was wrong. The Board of Inquiry deliberated for 3 days after witnessing Lisa's second demonstration. During those days, news of the test results spread throughout the Academy and beyond. For the first time since the controversy began, some alien students and faculty started to question their assumptions about human abilities. When the board reconvened, Admiral Zen looked tired but determined. The hearing room was packed even more tightly than before. Reporters from dozens of worlds had arrived to cover what many were calling the most important decision in Academy history. After careful consideration of all evidence presented, Admiral Zen began. This board finds that Cadet Lisa Martinez did not violate any Academy rules during the Stellar Navigation Challenge. Her victory was achieved through legitimate means. The room erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered while others shouted in protest. Human students hugged each other with relief. Lisa felt tears running down her face, but for the first time in weeks they were tears of joy rather than frustration. Admiral Zen raised her hand for silence. Furthermore, this board formally apologizes to Cadet Martinez and Captain Morrison for the accusations made against them. The Academy's investigation revealed no evidence of wrongdoing, but Lisa's vindication was only the beginning of much larger changes that would sweep across the galaxy. Within hours of the board's announcement, Admiral Sarah Knox arrived at Centauri Prime. She was the highest-ranking human in the Galactic Navy and had traveled from Earth, specifically to address the situation. Her presence sent a clear message that the human government took this matter very seriously. Admiral Knox met privately with the Academy's leadership, but word of their discussions soon leaked out. She was demanding major reforms in how the Academy evaluated and trained students from different species. She argued that the institution's methods favored certain types of intelligence while ignoring others. "We cannot continue to measure all minds by the same standard," Admiral Knox told a gathering of Academy faculty. "What we have learned about human cognitive abilities should make us question what other talents we might be overlooking in all species." Professor Kresh, who had led the accusations against Lisa, found himself in an uncomfortable position. His reputation as a fair and knowledgeable instructor had been damaged by his role in the controversy. During a faculty meeting, he publicly apologized to Lisa and admitted that his prejudices had clouded his judgment. "I allowed my assumptions about human limitations to override the evidence before my eyes," he said. "This was not worthy of a scientist or an educator." The changes at the Academy came quickly. Captain Morrison was not only reinstated but promoted to Dean of Strategic Studies. His first task was to develop new training programs that would incorporate different types of problem-solving approaches. Lisa returned to her classes, but everything was different now. Students who had once ignored her now sought her help with navigation problems. Faculty members invited her to demonstrate her techniques to other classes. She went from being an outsider to being one of the most respected cadets in her year. Impact extended far beyond the Academy. Universities across the galaxy began recruiting human students specifically for their unique cognitive abilities. Military schools revised their entrance exams to better identify different types of intelligence. Research institutions launched new studies into the cognitive differences between species. 6 months after her vindication, Lisa received the assignment she had dreamed of since arriving at the Academy. She was posted to the GSS Horizon, one of the Navy's newest exploration vessels. The ship's mission was to map unknown regions of space. work that would require exactly the kind of intuitive navigation skills Lisa possessed. The Horizon's crew was deliberately diverse, representing the best minds from multiple species working together as equals. Lisa served as the primary navigation officer, working alongside a Zephyrian engineer, a Chromac tactical specialist, and a Valeni communications expert. Captain Ben Parker, a veteran human officer, commanded the ship. He had specifically requested Lisa for his crew after reading reports of her navigation abilities. During their first mission briefing, he made the ship's philosophy clear. "This crew succeeds because we think differently, not in spite of it," Captain Parker told them. "Each of you brings unique strengths that the others cannot replicate. Our job is to combine those strengths into something greater than any of us could achieve alone." Lisa's first major test came during the ship's third mission. The Horizon was exploring a region of space filled with gravitational anomalies and unstable energy fields. Standard navigation computers could not plot safe courses through the area. Using her intuitive methods, Lisa identified several stable corridors that allowed the ship to conduct its survey safely. Her Zephyrian colleague, Engineer Malik, was amazed by her approach. "I have been studying navigation for 15 years, Malik told her. "I never imagined that spatial problems could be solved without precise calculations. You make it look like art rather than science." Lisa replied, "Maybe the best solutions come when we combine art and science, instead of choosing between them." Word of the Horizon's successful mission spread throughout the fleet. Other ship commanders began requesting human navigation officers for difficult assignments. The Academy started receiving more applications from human students than it could accept. The changes reached Earth as well. Young humans who had never considered careers in space service began preparing for the Academy entrance exams. Lisa's story inspired a generation of human children, too, to believe they could compete successfully among the stars. 2 years after the navigation challenge, Lisa was promoted to lieutenant and given her own ship to command. The ceremony took place at the Academy, with representatives from every major species in attendance. Admiral Zen, who had once doubted Lisa's abilities, personally presented her with her new rank insignia. "Lieutenant Martinez," Admiral Zen said during the ceremony, "your achievement taught us all an important lesson. Excellence comes in many forms, and wisdom means recognizing and celebrating those differences." Professor Kresh, now one of Lisa's strongest supporters, established a new course at the Academy called Alternative Navigation Methods. Lisa returned regularly as a guest instructor, teaching other students the techniques her grandfather had taught her on Earth's oceans. The Academy's motto was changed to reflect the lessons learned from Lisa's experience. The new inscription, carved in stone above the main entrance, read "Excellence through diversity of thought in the languages of all member species." 5 years after winning the navigation challenge, Captain Lisa Martinez looked out at the stars from the bridge of her own ship, the GSS Pioneer. Her crew included beings from a dozen different worlds, each contributing their unique abilities to their shared mission of exploration. Her grandfather's old notebook sat on her desk, its pages now filled with star charts and space navigation. Roots, the simple wisdom he had taught her about reading patterns in nature, it carried her farther than either of them could have imagined. As the Pioneer prepared to enter unexplored space, Lisa reflected on how much had changed. Humans were no longer seen as the weakest members of galactic civilization. They were recognized as valuable contributors who brought essential perspectives to humanity's place among the stars. The galaxy had learned that different minds could find different solutions under the same sky. And that diversity of thought was not a weakness to be overcome, but a strength to be celebrated.